Hello everybody, we're back. We are here today with a brand new deck tech for you guys, and I've even got the maker of the deck with me here today. His name is Mike.
Hi everybody.
And we're going to just go over the deck with you guys real quick, and we're really looking forward to playing it. I personally am not an aggro player per se, so this is kind of new territory for me. Well, not new, because I do play aggro from time to time, but it's not my forte. What about you, Mike?
Well, I like to play aggro with tricks, and that's where this deck came from. This is a Sliver deck, not the normal build, because I am predominantly a red player, so when I decided to build this deck, it needed to have Lightning Bolt.
Here, here. Lightning Bolt is such a good card. And we'll get back to why it's such a good card in this deck specifically. But the regular version of this deck is usually Selesnya colors, so it runs white for stuff like Hive Stirrings, Plated Sliver, Sinew Sliver. But we decided to go for you decided to go for the red splash.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about what makes the red splash viable?
For what I feel makes this Sliver deck different and, to me, better than the other deck is the fact that it's more aggressive. You're paying 1 for first strike, being the Striking Sliver.
So yeah, that's right. Striking Sliver, 1 mana, 1/1. Sliver creatures you control have first strike. First strike is probably my favorite combat ability, really, for Magic. It's such a good, so good at skewing combat math.
And for the white build, it's a 2 mana 1/1, and this is a 1 mana 1/1, which just makes it that much better.
I don't think they even play the first strike Sliver in white. Actually, they would play the Plated Sliver, right, as the 1-drop instead of Striking Sliver. I guess it'd be kind of the equivalent.
But on the lines of, since it's a 2-drop, instead of playing the first strike Sliver in white, we're playing Hunter Sliver.
Yeah, okay, and Hunter Sliver is kind of a kind of a controversial card. I saw Mike playing this against me a couple weeks ago, and we'll get to the differences between our two decks. But here we have Hunter Sliver, and Hunter Sliver gives all your creatures Provoke. Now, Provoke reads, whenever Sliver attacks, its controller may have target creature defending player controls untap and block it if able. Now, Provoke is a really good mechanic from Legions, the Onslaught block, and it was one of my favorite mechanics of that block, which came along with Morph and all that good stuff. Essentially, it makes it so that you can force your opponent to block certain slivers, leaving other slivers to go unblocked, and even force combat that will be disadvantageous for your opponent, which is actually really, really good. Any other comments about that?
Well, we're gonna talk about the differences. So this isn't a card that I suggested for this deck tech. I suggested Burning Tree Emissary.
All right, let's take a look at. Well, I mean, you probably all know what Burning Tree Emissary is,
because I'm also playing some other cards that make Burning Tree Emissary really useful.
Right. So I guess the main difference with your deck in mine is that yours is even more aggressive.
Yeah.
You tend to want to put even more power on the board and just like flood as much as possible.
Correct.
Even so much so as to include non-sliver creatures that are still, good on the curve.
Correct. So that'll lead us to a card that's in both decks, which would be the Heart Sliver.
Aha.
Which to me is the #1 reason why I went red. I could have went blue, which would have made it more evasive. It would have been a little bit more flat, but the haste, I think, is what puts this over the top. You put your turn 1 Virulent Sliver and then your turn 2 Heart Sliver, and it's really, unless somebody's playing something just as aggressive as you are, you're putting 2 poison on the board. Period.
Absolutely, yeah, and multiple Virulent Slivers trigger on top of each other, which is something that not many people realize as when they're going up against Slivers, is that if you have 2 Virulent Slivers, it gives all your Slivers Poisonous 1, and then another instance of Poisonous 1. So 2 Virulent Slivers will give 4 poison.
Which is a misconception because of Infect, which only gives 1 per attack.
Power 1 for each power, yeah, exactly. So yeah, kind of Poisonous works differently from that. Other small differences, I guess, You're not running Two-Headed Sliver, right?
Two-Headed Sliver was actually when I came up with this build. Somebody suggested not to play this card.
Yeah, I didn't think it was all that good, but I ended up putting it in as a 2-of in my own rendition of the deck, and it was actually really good against other decks. Like, for example, the blue-black control deck, it just gets around the Gurmag Angler so well. There's, against decks that run a single threat, they can't get around the Two-Headed Sliver very easily.
And this is where our playstyles vary, because I haven't been playing as long as Seb has. So to me, Menace is great, and that has to do with probably because I'm such a red player. But if I was playing the white version of this, I would be using Flanking, which to me means nothing because I wasn't playing then.
Yeah, the Flanking Sliver is a really, really good card, almost like another Lord, but yeah, basically like another Lord, but yeah, not access to it in red, unfortunately. Yeah, other than that, I mean, we have our 4 Striking Sliver, 4 Virulent Sliver covers our 1-drop creatures. Heart Sliver we've talked about. Hunter Sliver as a 3-of. You don't want it in every matchup. It's very good against other aggressive strategies to force their smaller creatures to kind of die to your Hunter Sliver. The Hunter Sliver works extremely well with the Striking Sliver, giving your guys first strike, which, that's what I like about this deck, is it's so synergistic with not only the other slivers, but the other non-creature cards in the deck.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we got the full 8 Lords here in green, Muscle Sliver and Predatory Sliver, just copies of each other, although Muscle Sliver gives it to all slivers, and this one only gives it to slivers you control.
On top of that, we've got, at a 4-drop, we've got Bone Splitter Sliver, because we did want to add in that other Lord component.
Mm-hmm. 4 mana is a lot, though. So,
yeah, so it's a 2.
Exactly, right.
Not forgetting another huge card is there's also Spinneret Sliver.
Absolutely.
So other main differences in my deck is like Seb's version, I do run Rancors, as well as the Lightning Bolts. But in my version, like I said already, I play Burning Tree Emissaries, and I play something that I find really useful in a deck like this, because you don't want to get gassed in a red-green deck, especially against something just as...
not much draw in red-green, right?
Yeah.
So if you're and something as aggressive, you tend to run out of gas.
Exactly.
If you're drawing your lands, you should be drawing more creatures or more removal. Well, you get stuck, and that's where you lose the game, right?
Yeah. And Faceless Looting doesn't let you just get rid of the lands you don't want. In the case of my deck, because I've been trying to focus more on the fact that I can use those Burning Tree Emissaries, I also run Metallic Slivers. And after turn 3, I tend to want to just drop them, unless I'm hitting Burning Tree into 2 Metallic Slivers, or Burning Tree into a Metallic Sliver, and Virulent and Striking.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Metallic Sliver is just a 1-mana 1/1 that is colorless, and it's an artifact creature. I mean, I guess it can be good in hedge situations, like against the 2 mana they discard 2 unless you discard an artifact kind of thing, and it also fits because it can go in. It could be played with either a forest or a mountain. So not the worst sliver for a 2 colors that's missing 1-drops maybe. And like you said, the Faithless Looting makes this card a bit more runnable, I guess. Yeah.
It's probably something that's either going to get dropped down to a 2-drop or cut from my deck.
Right. Although honestly, the more I think about it, the more I'm loving the Faceless Looting idea, and I might be running it over my own kind of tech card, Vines of Vastwood, which, very typical Pauper card you see everywhere. Gives your creature hexproof for 1. If you pay another green, it gives it +4/+4. So it's a good game ender. It protects your key slivers, and it's an instant. You can also use it on your opponent's creatures and stuff to prevent shenanigans.
And in my case, I'm actually running Vines of Vastwood in my sideboard.
Okay. I didn't know that. All right, cool. Interesting. Yeah. Good. So Vines of Vastwood is it's a good tech card, but I think Faithless Looting might be a little bit more useful in kind of the general aspect of the deck. It makes more opening hands keepable as well.
Yeah.
If you keep a 4-land hand, for example, with a couple 1-drops and Faithless Looting, you feel a lot better about it because you can eventually cycle those lands away if you end up getting flooded.
Yeah, and being this being an aggressive aggro deck, like we said, the Bone Splitter at 4 mana being our highest mana cost by far. If we don't get there, we are not worried because we can discard it after drawing cards.
Yeah. And just one quick word for Lightning Bolt. I mean, if you're adding red, Lightning Bolt is just the best. Such a good feeling.
And in our case, running Lightning Bolt versus the Celestia version of running Journey to Nowhere, this is a 1-drop. This deals with creatures. This deals with players. Versus the other card only deals with creatures.
And it's an instant too.
Yeah.
So just, you're running red, you're probably running Lightning Bolt. Great card. Let's move on to the sideboard. Now, I've never seen your sideboard, I don't think, but we'll take a look at mine real quick here. I made this really quickly. It's probably something that we'll need some work on as we go along, but just really quick. Electrickery, well, obviously fairies is a thing. Pyroblast, blue decks, Ancient Grudge. Affinity is huge right now, so I'm running 3 copies. Flaring Pain, good against Circles of Protection, as well as fog decks. It's also something that I will board in, usually a game 3 card against Stompy, because they do run their own fogs to skew combat in their favor. It can act like a time walk sometimes. So Flaring Pain really puts a dent in that plan. Mogg War Marshal looks a little weird. Most people would run in this slot a Young Wolf. It's basically multiple bodies in one card to stop mono black control from taking over with edict effects and things like that. So just a good card to have in your sideboard for that matchup. I'm testing out Life Goes On, brand new card from our Devastation as we're recording this. Gains you 4 life. If a creature died, you gain 8 life instead. So pretty easy against other aggressive decks to activate this. Against Burn, not so much. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence as to whether this is better than the traditional Feed the Clan at this point, which is kind of a staple in most green decks now, where it gains you 5 life and 10 if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Because we don't have as many lords, pumping our guys is not as big of a plan. Obviously, if you have Bone Splitter Sliver, it activates right away.
Yeah.
But in general, Feed the Clan will not always activate the Ferocious. So Feed the Clan, Life Goes On, they kind of are good in different scenarios. Moment's Peace, well, like I said, against other aggressive decks, it's just a really good card.
And in something aggressive like this, Flashback is always useful, which is why Faithless Looting was a choice instead of other draw-discard spells.
I'm contemplating running Tangle instead of Moment's Peace because of the surprise factor, where the opponent trying to finish the game goes for the all-out swing, and then Tangle gets in the way. Unfortunately, against decks like Stompy, there's a lot of untap effects with Korean Ranger and Nettle Sentinel, so Moment's Peace kind of gets the nod for now, but we'll see. Tranquility deals with Bogles, Hexproof, and also any enchantment shenanigans you might be running into. Tranquility gets it all, rather than Serene Heart, which is only hits auras. And that pretty much covers it. Are there any cards that you're running in your sideboard that are...
For the most part, I'm running pretty standard things. I am running Feed the Clan as a sideboard card, and the reason why I'm running the Vines of Vastwood is in case I want to hit that Ferocious. But something we also didn't mention too much is the fact that we're both running 4 Rancors, which does bring you to that 5 depending on which sliver or when in the game you're putting it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it will trigger the Ferocious pretty frequently, especially on a Spinneret Sliver, which is a 2/2 for 2. That's very easy to do, right? Or a Muscle Sliver or Predatory Sliver, right? Any of those green slivers will do it. So yeah, that's true. It's a good point. I didn't mention that. Rancor also very synergistic with Striking Sliver for the first strike, and which is also incidentally very good with the Hunter Sliver.
And the Bone Splitter Sliver.
Exactly. So you can see how all these non-creature cards tend to kind of mesh together super well with the rest of the Sliver cards.
So my main thing is if you're wanting something alternative to the normal play a creature go, and more interactive, if you're wanting to play creatures and be aggressive, that would be Elves. But if you're wanting to be different, this might be the build for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying something different from the traditional Slivers build, from the traditional aggro side of things too. You don't see Slivers too often in competitive Pauper, but from what I've seen, this thing has got what it takes. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I hope you look forward to watching me play some games, and maybe Mike and I will play Elite together sometime.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that you get to hear more from me soon. Enjoy.